What's up guys, welcome back to a new video. My name is Luca. I'm a filmmaker and photographer based in Bali, Indonesia. Today we're here to talk about this beautiful camera, the Sony A7 III, which was my camera for the past 3.5 years, and this new camera that I got, and I'm recording this on, which is the Sony A7S III. Let's get started. Alright guys, obviously we're not trying to point out which one is the best camera, because obviously that would be the A7S III, but we're trying to point out which camera is the best for you. So up until a month and a half, 2 months ago, I only had the Sony A7 III, and I used this for big projects like a project with Corona, with Zion, with small rig. So it is still good enough, obviously, in 2022 to shoot commercials, to shoot promo videos, to shoot photo, to shoot campaigns, to shoot anything you need for. But what we were trying to point out here is how much better is the Sony A7 III and which one you should go for. With that said, we drove like about 20 to 30 minutes on another sunrise mission up some rice fields and palm tree rows just to test how this camera, get some shots and get some comparisons, and put them together and see which one actually is better for you. So obviously the A7S III shoots in 4K 120 and 4K 60, but to make this fair, we shot everything in 24 frames per second, and in S-Log2 for the Sony A7 III and S-Log3 for the Sony A7S III. I'm mixing up these names so much. So the first shot that I want to test is the rolling shutter. To me, the rolling shutter, it is a big problem, because obviously when you try and shoot something, and I love that handheld field and the action shots, the rolling shutter becomes a very big problem because you can really see it in the Sony A7 III, on my opinion. And when you see them next to each other, you can actually see how much the A7 III has more of rolling shutter. And also, we get to it later, but you can already see it here. It kind of loses the focus a little bit halfway through as Zach is running past it. So the A7S III doesn't do that, and obviously that's because it has more focus points and it's better at autofocus. But if you're planning to do a lot of action shots and a lot of very fast-paced cuts and everything, just be careful, because the A7 III has quite a lot of rolling shutter. Right, moving on to the next test, which is the autofocus, and I already know which one is gonna win. Obviously the A7S III, it's way better. Like, it's literally feels like it's another planet. The way it focuses on the eye, it's incredible. But I still really like the A7 III out of focus, and I kind of like that it's not as responsive as the A7S, because sometimes, when you're trying to focus on something, the A7S, sometimes if you have it in fast and responsive, it just picks up the eye so quickly, and then it's almost annoying how fast it focuses on the eye. But it's also very good that it doesn't lose focus on the subject, so you got your high and your downs, obviously. But yeah, for the A7 III wise, I would say learn how to manual focus, because that will change your life so much, to be honest. Or just make sure when you're doing a shot where the subject is coming close to the camera or the subject is moving very fast, just make sure you try a few times and get a different shot, just so you don't miss a shot because of the focus. Moving to test number 3, dynamic range. Incredibly important in a camera, and with the system that we have right now, it's incredible. Like, cameras are just able to see things basically like your human eye, which is incredible. Like, the dynamic range in these cameras, it doesn't matter if it's a Sony, a Canon, whatever, it's like this big, the camera, and it captures the same dynamic range as a cinema camera. But with that said, let's compare these two shots, and the Sony A7S III has more dynamic range, obviously, as on paper, but the Sony A7 III is actually very good, and I've actually never had any problem of dynamic range, especially when shooting an S-Log2. If you expose it correctly and use the histogram correctly, you will have an amazing dynamic range from the A7 III too. Talking about low light, we're not even going to try to compare shots here, because if you've seen anything about the A7S III, you know that it's a beast. I've tried many things, I've tried a lot of ISOs, and it's just so clean, it's almost ridiculous. But there is something that you can do to have an amazing low light on the Sony A7 III too. And first of all, don't shoot an S-Log, because it's just too noisy, it's too disgusting in low light. But if you use Cine 2, Cine 4, it starts to get better, and you still have that very nice flat profile. Or I actually discovered not long ago this video from Josh Yo from Make Art Now, and I'm gonna link it up here, up that way. He goes through this way of setting your camera, the A7 III, to a specific picture profile that works so well in low light that I've tried it, and it's literally like mind-blowing how well it works. It just works amazing. It's just like, I tried it and I was like, this is not possible. Literally, how did I not know that? And now I do, and now you do too. Talking about photos, obviously the Sony A7 III will be a bit better because it has 24 megapixel on the same full frame sensor, while the Sony A7S only has 12 megapixel, which allows better quality in low light, and that's why it only has 12 megapixel. So you can basically shoot anything in the dark. Basically, this camera sees in the dark, which is incredible. Yeah, I would give the winner to the A7 III. Even though, to be honest, like, I don't really carry two cameras around too much because it gets just heavy on my bag. So I usually just carry the A7S III now, and I take photo with it, and I've taken so many photos already, and I just don't see any difference, especially because all I need it for is like social media. I haven't really used it for any client work, and if I will use it for client work, I will probably use that one just so you have a bit more pixel, a bit more crop possibilities. But yeah, to be honest, like, you're not gonna see any difference. Let's face it, you're not gonna see it. Alright, I promise this is the last thing I'm gonna cover, but it's one of the most important, I have to say. File sizes and editing has changed my workflow so much in the past 2 months since I have the Sony A7S III. I don't like to do proxies. It's just too much time consuming most of the time. So what I do is just, I drag them on my MacBook, I edit straight of it, done. And it does get very heavy on my laptop, and I have a 2019 MacBook Pro almost spec'd up, so I have a pretty good MacBook, and it still goes very slow as soon as I put some color grading, and as soon as I edit like anything over 24 frame per second, if I edit like a 60 or 120 FPS, it just goes nuts. So yeah, obviously my workflow got a lot worse and a bit slower in the past couple of months, but from the quality that I get out of it, I'm pretty happy, to be honest. And I'm probably gonna look forward to get a new MacBook in the next year or so, as obviously the files are getting bigger, heavier, and you know, we need to expand into the future, as they say. Yeah, definitely the files from the A7 III are much easier. You can even, like, you know, spacebar open it on QuickTime. Unfortunately, QuickTime doesn't read files from the A7S III. I don't know why. It's probably the codec or something in it. They should probably fix it because it's very annoying. So if Sony, you're listening, do something about it, because I don't want to right click and open VLC every time. As I said before, it doesn't matter which one is the best camera on the paper or on specs. It only matters which is the best camera for what you're doing and for what you need it for. As I said, I do think the A7 III is still a great camera, even in 2022 when it's 4 years old, 5 years old. This camera is still a beast, even though mine one is falling apart because I pull it through thick and thin, as they say. If you do have the A7 III and thinking of upgrading, to be honest, it's one of the best things I've done in the last year, I have to say, because this camera is just a beast. I have literally zero complaint about it, aside from the screen that feels a bit kind of dodgy. But aside from that, it is a great camera. So yeah, hope you guys liked this video. If you did so, like and subscribe, as I said before, and I'll see you in the next video. Both of this camera, lenses, everything I use is always linked down in the description, as well as my Lightroom presets, lots, whatever. This is my ad for the end of the video. Nobody's interested anyways. I'm gonna go drink some water because my throat feels very itchy right now, and my voice is like, whew, YouTubing is hard. It's kind of hard to, if you ever talked in front of a camera, it's like hard to like kind of put the words together, but yeah, we'll work it out. We got this. I'll see you guys next video. Peace.